Is this actually the face of Yahweh, the biblical God of Israel? Well, Israeli archaeologists say he has found a 3,000-year-old clay head depicting the biblical God of Yahweh. Others believe the image doesn't represent Yahweh. It is at best a deity. Hello everyone, welcome back to Ancient Insight. Please like this video and share on social media. And don't forget to subscribe and also enable notification so you will not miss future updates. Without much ado, let's get started. In an unfounded and irresponsible theory, an archaeologist claims he has discovered a nearly 3,000-year-old clay head that may depict the face of biblical Yahweh. The claim has, however, been refuted by fellow researchers. The spots surrounding the figurine found among the ruins of Kibbutz Kaiafa, an ancient settlement south of Jerusalem, is only the latest round in a broader debate over the historicity of the Bible and particularly the existence of the great Israelite kingdom of David and Solomon. Professor Joseph Garfinkel, a prominent archaeologist from the Hebrew University in Jerusalem, who has led the dig at Kaiafa, made waves when he published his theory about the figurine in a magazine, Biblical Archaeology Review, earlier. Garfinkel's stunning conclusion was that this graven image and a handful of other figurines found in the region surrounding Jerusalem are representations of the God of the Bible. According to Professor Garfinkel, the bug-eye figurine from Kaiafa, with its prominent nose, pierced ears, and what looks like a flat headdress dated to the 10th century BC, is similar to two clay heads found in the 10th or 9th century BC temple on Earth at Moza, an ancient town some 10 kilometers west of Jerusalem. He groups these three figurines with two more artifacts that were part of a private collection of Israel's former defense minister, legendary general and amateur archaeologist Moshe Dayan. As Garfinkel related, the two objects, a jug in the shape of a horse and rider, and a strainer jug with a human face, came from the antiquities market and were likely looted. So, their provenance is unknown, but according to Dayan's records, they supposedly came from somewhere in the Hebron area. The archaeologist's interpretation of the figurines as depicting Yahweh rests heavily on the fact that the Moza heads were found in a deposit on the floor together with several other cultic objects, including two horse figurines. Garfinkel speculates that the heads were once part of a statuette mounted on the two horses. He then goes on to claim that the Canaanites did not depict a male god on a horse, and the iconographic elements of the figurines correspond with descriptions of Yahweh in the biblical tradition. In the Bible, he says, God is described as a rider in several passages, for example in Psalm 68 verse 4, where he is called him who rides on the clouds, or in Habakkuk chapter 3 verse 8, which invokes you who rode on your horses, your chariots of salvation. From this, the archaeologist draws the broad conclusion that Yahweh was commonly depicted in the anthropomorphic form of a rider during the early days of the kingdom of Judah, and the biblical ban on making images of God was introduced shortly after this period. This is because these figurines, resembling the literature of ancient Canaan and Israel, have been discovered in contexts dating to the 10th and the 9th centuries BC, but not in the 8th century and afterwards, Garfinkel concluded. Garfinkel is one of the most prominent scholars who tend to treat the biblical narrative as close to historical fact, particularly when it comes to the existence and extent of King David's kingdom, which would have been around the 10th century BC, the same period of the putative Yahweh figurine. For me, the Bible is a historical book because most of the places and characters in the Bible have been confirmed by archaeological discoveries. You can check this channel for more of those discoveries. Critics have often accused him of creatively interpreting archaeological finds to fit biblical narratives. For example, with his excavation of Kaiafa, which Garfinkel identifies as the biblical town of Sharaim, and where he claims to have unearthed a palace that would have housed the kings of Judah when they came to visit. However, his latest theory on the presumed face of Yahweh figurine has ruffled many feathers, particularly those of archaeologists who have excavated the site at Moza, on which Garfinkel's claim lies heavily. Some of these researchers published a response in Biblical Archaeology Review to Garfinkel's original study, saying he had misrepresented the figurines from the Moza temple and made patently false arguments in building his case to identify them as depictions of God. First of all, one of the heads from Moza has punctures on the chin to simulate a beard, while the others does not, meaning that we cannot even be sure they both represent male figures. The response points out the same problem arises with the Keifa figurine, whose chin is missing, leaving us in the dark as to its gender, noted Shuar Kiselevitz, the lead author on the paper. And whether they are male or female, there is no reason to interpret them as depiction of a god, since they lack any divine attributes that would be expected to accompany such a representation. For example, the stamp god Baal, worshipped by the Canaanites but also by the early Israelites, had a bull as his main attribute and was usually depicted with this animal, or at least with symbolic horns, she explained. Given the lack of divine attributes, the figurines from Moza seem more like votive offerings brought by the worshippers, just like the other vessels that were found in the same deposits. It is a way of communicating with the gods, but there is no reason to believe they are depictions of God. Do you think these figurines are a depiction of God? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. And don't forget to like this video to go a long way to help us grow this channel. For more interesting biblical archaeology videos, please check the playlist displayed here. Beneath the floor of the Byzantine structure in ancient Jerusalem, archaeologists have found a strange system of rooms believed to have been carved in the early Roman period. Let's get started right away. An enigmatic subterranean system of rooms has been discovered near the entrance into the tunnel system beneath the Western Wall Plaza. The discovery was made while peering beneath the mosaic floor of a newly discovered and mysterious Byzantine edifice. The system has been hewn into the bedrock during the early Roman period about 2,000 years ago, shortly before the Romans leveled the second Jewish temple on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem in 70 CE.